I can't speak on appeals, but I imagine we would all like to see bridges rebuilt on this.
We just had a question from Dave Mack and Chris. Me and you were discussing it beforehand. So I think Dave's just asking, it was Graeme Sharp's birthday last week. What's your view on him returning to Goodison Park to watch matches before we move? What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, from a football perspective, he's an Everton legend, isn't he?
Absolutely.
And I think that, this is a club with a wonderful history, and we're celebrating a lot of that at the moment with the final season of Goodison Park. And it would be good to have as many people who have played such a pivotal role in it. I think it probably requires a degree of magnanimity from Sharp. I think that that was a difficult period of time. The final days of Lampard and everything that was happening around it above him. That Southampton match, I think the club got a lot of things wrong. I think that one of the problems is with Sharp at the time is obviously he gave that interview, I think, to the Mirror, where he perhaps was a bit critical of the fans, or questioning the fans who were protesting. I felt a bit in isolation. I felt a bit sorry for him in that, because obviously as a journalist I read the 500 words and I kind of could see how maybe a passing comment within a much wider interview had been taken and become the main thrust of an interview, which he perhaps wasn't necessarily expecting. But I think we also have to acknowledge that it wasn't the first time that he'd perhaps questioned fans that were unhappy with what they were seeing at Everton. I think a degree of recognition that the fans are incredibly important to Everton, the success of Everton Football Club, and have played a very important role in terms of Everton's Premier League survival over the last few years. And I would argue to say that the Everton supporters have played a more influential role in Everton's staying in the Premier League over the past 2 years than Everton's board have. And I think that's probably would warrant a little bit of recognition. But I think I think we would all like to see bridges I can't speak on appeals, but I imagine we would all like to see bridges rebuilt on this. There needs to be a willingness from both sides, I think.
Absolutely, well put. I mean, Chris, we were talking about it beforehand, weren't we, before we come in, and you actually revealed to me that Graeme Sharp was on your journalist course.
Yeah, I've known Graeme for over 2 decades now. There's Tony Barrett was there as well, of course, former Echo man, now working at Liverpool FC. And yeah, before Graeme went on to, he was very serious about learning to become a journalist. His father was a journalist as well, and he was going about it the professional route, and then it just so happened fate intervened that Joe Parkinson left his position as fans liaison officer, and Graeme went to do that at the club. I'd known him anyway. Sort of beyond that, I think it has to be on the right terms for Graeme here. It's whether when Graeme's comfortable to come back, because I noticed that there'd been an online poll with this, and the vast majority of fans did want to see him back. They want him there, and they want to see him back at Everton. You're always going to get some, aren't you, who say no. I know the people when I spoke to David Moyes recently, and we were delighted to get him in doing the Goodison Park My Home. Some people were still saying, "Well, we don't forgive David Moyes. After he went to Manchester United, tried to take our players." Well, for me, I think that's football, and you could see how affectionately David Moyes spoke about Everton and what it meant to him. Okay, you're always going to get those dissenting voices, but I believe they are in the minority, however strong they might be. At the end of the day, no other living person scored more goals for Everton than Graeme Sharp. He's part of the greatest team, which has brought the most joy to Evertonians in the 80s, and it's something that's really dear to him. He's obviously bruised by what's happened here, and he was part of he was a non-executive director, wasn't he, taken on by the club, so everyone's got to have their culpability as part of that. But I think it's a bit of a stretch to sort of suggest that all these great ills, and they are great ills, that have befallen Everton in recent seasons, the lowest equivalent points total in the club's history, and the off-the-field chaos with the points deductions and all that. If you try and lay that directly at Graeme Sharp's door, I'm not sure how that stacks up. But I think everyone just wants to see him back at Goodison Park before it is too late, before the end of the season. And we'd love to get him in. We're getting so many of his great colleagues. I'm sure he'd be great, you know, as part of that, as the Goodison Park My Home series. I'd love to be in a position where Graeme can feel he's comfortable to attend a game at Goodison again and be able to come and speak to us. I mean, that'd be ideal, I think.
Okay, thanks for that, lads. People are entitled to their opinion, and obviously there is going to be different opinions. Just remember that Graeme Sharp is still an Everton legend, and like you say, an absolute warrior of a goal scorer for the club in the past.